Alright, I'm going to start on the carburetor, putting the carburetor back together on the Galaxie and setting it all up and getting it ready to crank up. I got to set the timing and a few things I got to do yet, but we're going to work on the carburetor. And I just wanted to add a little to my video here. I want to keep politics out of my channel altogether. I don't care who it supports or what, but with the election coming up, I don't want to see any political gestures of any type on my channel. It's just kind of want to keep it away from I just don't want to deal with it. So if I see any political comments, they're going to get deleted. And so let's get to work on the carburetor now. Yeah, I didn't do anything on the Galaxie yesterday, but I did clean the truck up. It was such a nice day. And I had to run up to my dad's and I picked up a 6-gallon can of gas for the Galaxie. Well, I'm just going to give everything a final wash up here, get all this power tune off of everything and make sure everything is nice and clean. Then I'll go through all the jets with a little carb cleaner. That looks a lot cleaner than what it originally did, doesn't it? Yeah, that power tune is good stuff. It really cleans nicely. Alright, I think I'll just finish washing this stuff up in here. It's kind of a no-brainer. So I'll blow it off a little compressed air. I'm going to blow out all the ports with gum out, and I really don't want to get gum out on my camera, but see all these little air bleeds? You got to make sure they're all clear. You got to make sure these tubes are clear, all the holes in the tubes. This is the primary because it has the accelerator pump. This is the secondary because it does not have the accelerator pump in there. This has an air bleed there and there, and there and there. So you got to just go around and make sure all those air bleeds are clean, and again, all these are clean. There is jets on this. Make sure you can just get carb cleaner through every single orifice and opening on your carburetor. There's one here, there's these. This doesn't, somebody was saying this should have tubes for the bowl vents. Well, there's no place on this carburetor for them. Those holes there are where these go in. See? And there's no openings on the, see? And I don't see them with tubes there ever. And so I'm just basically, this is as far as it. There's no point in taking the butterflies out. That's a waste of time unless they're bent and you got to straighten them. Or if the shafts, you know, if this is worn out to where there's a lot of slop and you got to put bushings in them. So, you know, check all your, see there's no play in the shafts. They're all nice and tight. So I don't need to worry about that. So anyway, I'm going to get to gum outing everything. So one thing I do now that I've got it all clean, I set everything to factory specs from the shop manual, not from the little paper the carb kit comes from. So the first thing I do is see what carb I have. This is a C5AFF. So I looked in my shop manual, and the 65 or 66, I mean, 352 4V. There's two of them here. This one's the one with the Thermactor air pump, California emissions. This is the 352 I have. So it should be a C6AF-L. And I'm going to set all the specifications to here. And then if you go over here, it has carb part numbers, and we're looking for C6AFL, which is right there. And this will tell me all the other specifications for float levels and, you know, everything basically. So I'm going to start doing the carburetor right now. The first thing I'm going to do is put the mains back in. So the shop manual says the primary mains should be 48F. It's got 50F, so I'm not going to worry about that little bit. Let's see, does that 50F show up there? So anyway, these are going back in the primary float bowl. And then the secondary float bowls, the shop manual states are supposed to be 55Fs, which they are. Main jets are installed now. So I put that little rubber piece in there. This videoing the carb overhaul adds a lot of time to it. I forgot to turn the camera on when I put the choke assembly on, but that's pretty cut and dry. You know, I mean, no big deal. So I'm going to put the accelerator pump on. The shop manual says the inboard hole, but the shop manual also shows on the carburetor it's supposed to be on this car, it doesn't have these two holes here, just these two. And it says inboard, so that's where it is. And then this spring goes in. You don't want it pushing your rubber thing, so it goes in that way. And get this thing on here. I'll put the floats in last and then adjust the floats, and then that'll be it. We'll be ready to put back on the engine after that's done. I think I'll put the secondary diaphragm in now. Well, there's no pin on this one. The original one has a little pin in it, so I guess I'll have to figure out what to do here. See how that has a pin? See how that one doesn't? Alright, let me figure this out. Well, along with having no pin, it doesn't have any gaskets for this either, and this pin fits through the big opening, and that's a lot smaller there and peened over, so I can't really take this pin out and put it in this one. I already fooled around with seeing if I could. And this doesn't even come with new gaskets. I guess they're figuring that rubber is going to seal. Self-tapping screw, and screwed it in that fit through the, I made sure it fit through this job right here, which it does. It drops through it nicely. Get it in there. There. And it works. And I'm just not going to put a gasket on it. I'm just going to hope that the rubber acts as a gasket because the kit didn't come with gaskets. You know, that's the problem when you get this non-OEM stuff. It's just kind of, you know, fits 30 different things. And I'll put the little clip in there, and then I just want to make sure it's all free and moving. Oops. Alright, let me put the cover on it here. Yeah, it bleeds down a little bit, but it'll have constant vacuum to it, so it should be fine when you're in the throttle. So hopefully that works okay. Alright, I think I'm going to put in the stuff for the accelerator pump, the check balls. Now this is where keeping the original check ball was worth it, because if you look, there's a whole ton of check balls in there, and there's different sizes, and this one looks like the right size here. That looks like the correct size. And then I need the little weight, because it does not come. It comes with a weight, but it's not for this accelerator pump. And then this is the one for the primary because it has the accelerator pump. And with the gaskets, why you save the old gaskets. So it comes with two different styles of gaskets for here, as you can see. See how they're slightly different here? So you get the old gasket. So it's this gasket right here that I need. Whoops. Hope if I put it around the right way. And there's a little gasket that goes on top of this. Get the other funny looking gasket. So I'm getting ready to put the choke cover on, and I always look at everything closely, and I notice that there's a crack from there to there, across there, and out there. So it's a pretty good sized crack. I don't see it but just a little bit here, so I'm going to put some super glue in that crack to kind of seal it, because there is vacuum on this to heat the choke, and I don't want a vacuum leak on the cap. So I doubt it would really leak enough vacuum to be significant, but I'm gonna glue it anyway. This is what I ended up using to, I didn't have any super glue, so I just put a little on a tip of a screwdriver and just kind of pushed it down into the cracks, and I'm gonna go in and have lunch and let that dry for a little while. The shop manual says to set the choke at 1 or on the index, and it was 1 lean. I'm just going to set it back at where it was, or where it's supposed to be, I mean. That's the index mark. I suspect why I see why they had it set 1 lean. This thing was so bent up that it wasn't sealing. So they had, when I screwed this down, let me get it lined up again. When I got it on, it only fits one way. You can turn it the other way over, this way over, and it doesn't fit anyway. Turn it this way over and it only fits one spot. And after I tightened it up, you could see light between the choke and the housing, and you can't. It draws vacuum through there, sucks heat up in here to open the choke from those choke tubes from the manifold. So if it's sucking air around the choke heater, it's not going to warm the choke spring up and open the choke. So I spent a few minutes just kind of see how it has those steps. I just had to straighten it out. None of those were even touching, and now they all touch pretty good, and I think it'll be fine. I'm gonna put it on. Let's see, get it around the right way again, and hopefully this seals up. Well, after some rebending that, it seals up there good now, so there should be no more vacuum leaks there. The choke spring works. I'm going to install the needles in the adjusting screws, and you just kind of make sure there's no ridges or bent, or just make sure they're uniform all the way around. Now, as I remember, this one was 1 1/4 and this one was 1 1/2. And you don't reef these into the port, just gently there at stop. So it's 1/2, 1, 1/2. Half, 1, 1/4. Alright, so all these pretty much all the same for this carburetor. There is a gasket that goes on there. Make sure that gasket is in place. You know, really, if you rebuild your own carburetor, get your shop manual out and follow your shop manual's specifications and everything. Don't go by what I'm doing. I'm just doing this to show you how I do my carburetor. Now, the shop manual shows these on the needles over here. The original ones didn't have these. I don't know why. I don't know if it was because it was too difficult for them to figure out how to put the carburetor together without them. And then there's this spring too. Let me pop this over. There we go. There's one float in, and I'll adjust the float drop and the float level after I get both floats in. That spring goes underneath that, like so. This is a little bigger screwdriver. Floats are in. The float level on this is 17/32 for both float bowls. I got my measure set right here, and it says from the air horn or top of the carburetor without the gasket. And it looks like it is too deep. It says to measure it 1/8 of an inch in from the edge of the float. And currently it is 13/32. It needs to be 17/32. So let me bend these little tabs and see if we can't get it right. Well, this one's obviously not as far off, but it is off. And I do have the floats in their correct. This float was originally here, this float was originally there. I set them in the pan so I would remember. But really, for me to do this really good, I want to hold the carburetor upside down. So I'm not going to be able to video while I'm setting the floats, but you get the message, you know, the picture. You bend these tabs one way or the other to raise or lower the float, and you measure 1/8 inch in from the very edge of the float, from the body to the floats. And you don't measure this dimpled in area. You measure this area, you don't measure that, just there or there. So I could even measure on this side if I wanted to, which I probably will because I can get a little better measurement there. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, and I'm going to hold the carburetor upside down. It'll be too difficult to video, but you know, you get the picture. It's pretty cut and dry in adjusting the float. Okay, both float levels are set at the correct float level, and it also gives you specifications of the fuel level on the float bowl from the top of the air horn here. So I can put the carburetor on the engine just like this and start it, and then I'm not going to, obviously, but then you can measure how deep your fuel is in the float to get the float exactly right. But again, I'm not doing that. That's close enough. If it doesn't run right, then I'll do it, but it should run right. So now this gasket I saved because, like I say, these kits come with multiple gaskets, so you can vividly see differences. See, this hole here is not in that one. These holes out here are different. This more of matches this gasket, so this is the gasket that I will use for the float bowl. So I'll get this on. I'll make the vacuum line up to fit the carburetor, and we'll get it on the engine. That looks like the correct one. I put the screws and everything in that thing with the power tune. Carburetor looks like it's pretty much all rebuilt. There is a couple little other adjustments I might do. It has an adjustment for these. It says closed, turn this until it touches, and then one turn. So I may do that. It looks pretty good to me. It looks a little bit better than what it did before I took it apart, that's for sure. And there we go. All right, let me put it on the engine. All right, I realized after I'd been fooling around here for probably 15 minutes doing this that the battery in the camera was dead. So I got the kick-down linkage on and the little spring, which I painted black because it was originally black. The return spring was originally silver, so I just painted that, and I'm waiting for that to dry. I'm going to hook up the the choke heater. Let me show you. So this is the choke heater stuff, and it goes from the manifold up to the carburetor, and this goes on here. I gotta go get the flare fitting or the compression fitting for this end. So it's just a simple compression nut, compression ferrule. This just goes down in the manifold like so. Hooks to the carburetor. And I don't have the carburetor, oh, you probably can't even see anyway. I don't have the carburetor bolted down so I can move it. And let me see if I can move this so I can work and I'm not in your way. Oh, I want to show you one other thing that I got to deal with here too. I'm not going to start it today. It's getting late and I still got to make sure it has spark. I got to find my coil and I got to set the timing. And I'll show you another reason why. Okay, that's nice and snug in there. And then this is the fresh air that goes from the air cleaner. There's a little clip that goes on those two lines, and I want to bead blast it, and it kind of just holds these two lines together, so I'm going to put that on too. So I cleaned up the original hose. Yeah, you'd think, you know, custom crafters. I ordered this stuff here was for 428. They didn't have it for the 352. But it's the same thing. It's not pushed down on the manifold all in there. And like I'm going to pull it out, put the hose on. Yeah, it's kind of annoying because, you know, they could have given you that bit of hose with the kit, but they don't. So that's just the way it is. That goes on there. Actually, I think that would be better over the heater hose than under it. Well, I don't know. It seemed to fit under it pretty good, so I think that's the route we'll take. There we go. That's where it gets the fresh air for the choke. And it just sucks air through there, around here into the choke to heat the choke. Yeah, their fancy little kit doesn't come with this clip either, so it happens when people have these that these are totally rusted out and they need the clip. So yeah, I give the choke tubes a 4 out of 10 because this tube didn't fit very well. I had to rebend it, but it was for 428, mind you, but it works. And it didn't have this clip and it didn't have that piece of rubber hose. Yeah, that turned out pretty darn good, the choke heater lines. That's the little clip I just bead blasted. That's where it was on the original choke heater lines, but I'm going to show you the problem I have, and all the stores are closed now because it's pretty late. But see, I got the fuel filter threaded in, but see that gasket? It's loose in there. That's going to be a gas leak, so I got to get a thicker, they didn't send a thick enough gasket with the fuel filter, or this part's too long, or this gasket's too, the original one was twice as thick as this one, so I suspect that's what the issue is that gasket. That's the gasket that came with the filter. So I'm gonna bolt the carburetor down. The dash pod is missing, so I gotta find one of them, and I gotta put the throttle return spring on. And once I get a fuel filter, the fuel system should be done. I'm going to attach the carburetor bolted down, and I don't know if these show up or not, but there's a little, see how this, I don't know if it shows up, but they're different. This is the carburetor side. So I'm going to get the bolting down this. Got my vacuum advance line on. That was when I think the battery went dead when well actually I don't know when the battery went dead. All I know is it was dead. I'll find out when I go in and start editing what I didn't get. Alright, I'll go around and tighten those up. That's a no-brainer. I don't think I need to video tightening the carburetor nuts. Well, that looks a lot better. It's basically all installed other than the fuel line. I'll get a thicker gasket for it tomorrow. Oops, the tripod's in my way. Yeah, came out nice. And then when the accelerator is pushed, the choke sets. Alright, that's it for the day. I gotta get that gasket for the fuel filter, a thicker one. Find the coil, make sure it has sparks, set the timing, and then it should be ready to start. I gotta obviously deal with the transmission fluid, the power steering fluid, the coolant. You know, a lot of things I gotta deal with right away when I start it. So, but yeah, it's basically together. So if you like my video, hit the like button. If you want to see this up and running and this car cruising down the road this summer, subscribe to my channel. And thank you for watching.